Quick, look up. No, not that way. Look over there. Look up. You see what's up there? Well, Matthew is going to tell you what's up there, and he's going to tell you how to paint it today. What's up there, Matthew?
Clouds, atmospheric perspective, a lot of interest up in the sky.
All right. So what are you going to teach us today?
Well, I'm going to teach you how to paint realistic skies. And one thing that I found with my students is I've got a lot of comments on painting clouds and things like that. And so today I'm going to show you my process for painting realistic clouds specifically and talk about skies. So
Okay.
Let me switch my camera angle here.
And
so
what are you going to teach in? What medium?
Watercolor.
Okay, terrific. All
yeah.
right.
So we'll be digging into
skies. A lot of people think skies are really, really simple, but there's a lot of tricks to make it feel like the sunlight is coming in from one side and so on. So we're gonna learn about that. So I'll tell you what. Let's get this show officially started.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhoads. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhoads.
Welcome to Art School Live. We're here every weekday at 12 noon. My name is Eric, and I run a bunch of art magazines, newsletters, conferences, events, retreats, training for artists. It's just a whole bunch of stuff. Anyway, I'm glad to have you here. We've been here since COVID began, every weekday at 12 noon. And our goal is to teach you how to paint and to teach you how to get better at painting. We have instructions every day of the week, 3 days of the week. We have people teaching how to paint. Sometimes I teach. And then on Mondays, we have Marketing Mondays. On Friday, we have Feedback Friday. So you want to, if you're new to us, check in, say hello in the chat, and make sure if you see something that really is an aha moment, you say so in the chat so other people can go, oh, I missed that. That's good. All right, our guest today is Matthew White, and Matthew is an incredible painter. Let me show you some of his work right now. Now, this is beautiful. That looks like a scene from the Eiffel Tower in Paris, but I don't know where it is. We'll find out from Matthew in a minute. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Nice work. Okay, and look at the luscious sky in that beautiful painting. We're going to learn about painting skies today. Matthew, where was that scene looking down on the river?
So that was Kansas City, Missouri. So I got to go on a flight. I had a family friend who was a pilot, and he took me up over Kansas City as the sun was setting. And I took a bunch of pictures, and that was a scene I just knew that I had to paint.
Awesome. Outstanding. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get right to our sky training lesson today.
All right. Let me switch over here.
Okay.
Okay, I wanted to show first an early sky that I painted.
Okay. There we go.
So as you can see, this is what a lot of students run into, really hard edges, clouds that are just kind of white things that are kind of cut out with blue around it. But today, I want to show the viewers how to paint something like this, with clouds that have more form, with a good feeling of light and motion and life in the cloud. So this is what we're going to paint today. And I'm going to go ahead and get started here. Oh,
if you're okay, we lost your camera there.
Yeah.
What he's painting in watercolor, but a lot of these techniques you're going to learn are going to apply to other mediums as well. So make sure that you check that out. Okay, we're waiting for his camera to come back. He just kind of disappeared on us, and so we'll make sure that he comes back. You guys make sure to tell us when you are where you're watching from in the comments, so we get people from all over the world, and it's kind of fun to see where everybody's tuning in from. So go in there right now. And we're waiting for Matthew's camera to come back. And I don't know if he even realizes it's off. So Matthew, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Can you hear that? Do you know that you can't? Oh, there, your camera had gone away. There.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay. All right. So now you've gone away again. We have, okay. Technical difficulties today. All right. So we're waiting for Matthew to come back here, and we'll find him here in a second. I want to tell you guys what's going on this weekend. On Saturday, we have an incredible one-day event. It's a full day on Saturday featuring some of the top gouache artists in the world. Gouache is a variation on a water media. Gouache is, here we go.
Sorry about that, Eric. Hopefully
That's
we have all the technical issues hopefully out of the way.
Okay, good. So I was just telling everybody about Gouache Live, which is taking place on Saturday. I'll tell them more about that later. Okay, take it away.
Okay, actually, this camera can't see my studio, so I'm going to have to really quickly jump back on. One sec here, Eric.
Okay. Okay, so here we go again. We'll have him back on in a second. He's having some camera difficulties. So anyway, Gouache Live is on Saturday. It's all day. It's got some of the world's leading gouache artists, and you don't want to miss it. It's very inexpensive to attend. It's a full day, much less than you'd pay for a workshop for a full day, believe me. And it's going to be really good. Scott Christensen and some amazing artists are coming on, and so you don't want to miss that. It's called Gouache Live. All right. The other thing, while I'm killing time here, is I want to tell you guys that I'm really getting excited. I love painting fall color. Now, I'm up in the Adirondacks right now, and I'm seeing a little tinges of color change already because we've had some dark days and cool temps. And it's just getting me excited about painting fall color. Fall color is tricky because if you get it too colorful, too garish, it's going to look odd. So I love practicing fall color, and that's why I do Fall Color Week every year. It's a retreat that I do. It's got about 100 people we limit it to, and this year it's going to be in Door County, Wisconsin, which is about 4 hours north of Chicago, and a really terrific place to paint. Beautiful color, beautiful scenery on Lake Michigan. You got a lot of lighthouses, got a lot of colorful trees, and it's just a neat place overall to paint. And so we hope that you'll come and join us for our retreat. It's I think we've got maybe a dozen seats left or so, but they're going to be gone soon. This is about the time people start thinking about fall travel. So anyway, come up, just go to fallcolorweek.com, and we'll see what transpires when we get there. Now we're waiting for our guest to be back. He's having a camera problem. We do apologize for this. We're now okay. It looks like he's back.
All right, can you hear me okay, Eric?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and talk about painting clouds. I'm going to go ahead and get started right here.
Okay, we lost your camera again. Hello.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Did you hear that we lost your camera?
Yeah. Trying to sort that out here.
Okay. Well, sort it out, and I'll just go stall some more, and I'll be back. So, guys, this is unusual, so hang with us. We appreciate your patience. I have an event coming up in November. Last year, I did an event called Art Business Mastery, and I held it in January. But really, it should have been held in November because that way you could plan in advance. And so this year, we're holding it in November, and we have a whole new set of guests, a whole new set of topics. The whole idea is to help you crush your business for the next year, to really help you get your goals on target and figure out the strategies, tactics that you need to hit your goals. And so Art Business Mastery Day is going to be coming up in November 15th. And that is one day that we think can transform your art career. As a matter of fact, we had a lot of people tell us that last year's transformed them. So we would love for you to come. Again, we made it very inexpensive so that you can come and not have to struggle to be there. It's affordable for everybody. If you're going to Starbucks and getting a couple of cups of coffee and a donut, it's about the same amount of money. So make sure you join us for that. We also have, I should mention that last year we had a lot of people watch. We had thousands of people watch. And we would recommend that you watch last year's before you watch this year's. You can still get in there and watch it. If you just go to 𝗪𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗋.com, and at the top of the page, you'll see a big red bar and it says get last year's replays. They're available for you on there. This also talks about some of the groups that I have, the masterminds and things like that I have. So, all right, I think we have Matthew back.
Okay, let's go ahead and get going on painting these clouds here, and hopefully all of our technical issues are out of the way here.
All right.
The first thing I do when I paint clouds is I wet my paper on the front and the back. And the reason that's important is in order to get really believable, soft looking clouds, you need to paint wet into wet.
But why the back?
Well, I like wetting the back down because you might notice I don't have my paper taped to any surface. And if I was just to wet down the front, it would just curl up. So if you wet down both sides, it will actually lay flat on your surface.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it'll stay wet longer, so you have more time to work wet into wet, which is really important when painting skies. So I'm getting this nice and evenly damp using a little natural sponge here.
That's going to change my life, just that one thing that you taught me.
Have you ever tried painting in this way?
Well, I've never wet the back of the painting. I do watercolor all the time.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that I really like that approach, mainly because of the timing issue, like I mentioned. Just being able to really work wet into wet so much longer was kind of a game changer for me. And a lot of students have really it opened their eyes to a whole, set of new things that they can accomplish when they're painting, having that extra bit of time. So you see it's not sopping wet, but it's pretty damp. And that'll just sit right here on my surface. So we are going to build the strength up as we go. We're painting from light to dark here. So I'm going to start off with some really faint marks here. You might not see a whole lot, but we are going to build up the strength as we go until we get a really vibrant cloud right here. And you may notice I haven't done any drawing for this. I like to paint clouds just with the paint. I don't want a lot of hard pencil lines up here in the sky.
Okay.
And what I'm taking here is lavender with just a little bit of raw sienna. So here I'm looking at my main cloud, and I'm just going to start laying a little bit of soft value in for that cloud. And one thing I'm noticing right away is that this paper is starting to buckle a little bit. I'm going to take a spray bottle, and I'm just going to mist the paper a little bit more.
Play Misty for me. Okay.
That'll give me a little more time to work into this here.
Are you on a cold or a hot pressed paper or rough paper?
Yeah, this is cold press.
Okay. So you're using a lavender and a burnt sienna to get the cloud shadows.
Yeah, lavender and a touch of raw sienna. And actually, we're not painting the shadows yet. We are painting the form, just the lightest value of the clouds is what I'm laying in right now. And one thing I always tell students, when you are painting skies, especially a complex collection of clouds, one thing I don't want to do is look at my painting and try to paint everything exactly as it is in my reference photo. I'm trying to create an impression here. And so I'm really just using the reference photo as inspiration generally, but there's no way I'm going to paint every single little cloud exactly as it is in the photo. And so students find that pretty relieving, and I know I do too, when I don't have to paint every little thing that is in the reference photo. So we're working wet into wet, softly laying in a little bit of value. And I like this process because it really looks like nothing until you build up, build it up, build it up, and eventually you get a nice collection of clouds. So even down here, I can see I'm getting some hard edges. I'm going to dampen the paper a little bit more. A spray bottle is a handy tool to have.
I got one right here.
All right, so down here, so my main cloud's going to be here. Down here, as we get further off in the distance, there's a lot more clouds further away into the scene. A lot of those I'm just going to be hinting at, suggesting at. I don't need to get really, really involved with all that information down here. My main area of interest is going to be right here where that prominent cloud is. Okay, so we have the first little bit of information down on the paper. What I'm going to do now is mix up even more of what I just used. Lavender with a touch of raw sienna. I want to get a stronger value.
All right. Hello, Netherlands. Hello, Italy. Tell us where you're watching from, gang. So that's all very, very light and very subtle.
Yeah, very light,
nice. Very
very subtle. And now, after I have that laid in place, this is the light values for the cloud. Now I'm looking at the clouds again. I can see a darker cloud coming in over here with a little more form, a little more shadow. I can start to drop in some of those. And as I slowly let things kind of take form.
No, so are you using a little bit darker paint in this case?
Yes, more paint, less water.
Looks like more purple.
Yeah, that's the lavender you're seeing there.
Lavender.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, they might not have lavender. I found that ultramarine blue and like a touch of alizarin crimson or something like that, you can get that same color. Okay, so we're building up the strength, continuing to add a little bit more. I see a darker cloud here. I'm going to add a little bit of that.
And you're not really even rendering. You're just kind of dropping in some shape.
That's right. Yeah.
And so will those hard edges kind of blend away because of the wet?
They will. Yeah. So see all the softness I'm getting? Nothing's really defined at this point. It's all very soft and abstract.
Uh-huh. Hello, Sweden.
And you'll notice I haven't covered up this area right here. That's where that main cloud is going to be. I'm still just adding in some other bits of information, slowly building up the strength as we go. And like I mentioned down here, there's a lot more clouds, just a lot more marks. And, you know, if you zoom in on clouds, you see so much soft little value changes and a lot of information. And I'm just suggesting that by making more marks, more of these soft little marks. I'm not going to worry too much about what's on the ground right now. I'm just going to bring that down, soften it, and just pull it on down to the bottom of the page. Now, one tricky part about painting in watercolor and painting wet into wet is really understanding watercolor timing. And that's why painting skies is such a great practice for practicing watercolor timing. Before my camera cut out, I was showing you one of my early paintings with a lot of hard edges, right? And basically I was looking at the sky. You know, I painted this a number of years ago, and I was seeing the clouds as just white shapes, just trying to paint around them.
Right.
But when we can pay more attention to the timing and understand what's happening on the paper, we have a lot more opportunities. So as I'm painting this, I'm looking at the paper. You probably can't see this on camera, but you know, the more wet the paper is, the shinier that it is. So I can kind of pay attention to the sheen on the paper and really kind of see what's going on. You can also just touch it lightly and see where we're at as far as dampness goes. So we really have, you know, two main things that we're working with. We have the dampness of the paper as far as timing is concerned, and we have how much paint and water we are putting on our brush. So those two elements together are how we are able to create a variety of edges and paint something like this that's really mainly painted wet into wet. So this is an exciting part of the process, Eric, because now we're going to start putting the blue of the sky onto the painting.
I'm very excited.
So I'm going to go ahead and wipe off the lavender and get a clean area of my palette. And I'm still using a big mop brush at this point. Typically when I'm painting, I'm starting off with big brushes, and as I get further along in the process, I'm moving on to smaller brushes that give me more control. So painting light to dark, painting big to small. All right, for the blue of the sky, at this stage, I'm using a little bit of cerulean blue and a touch of cobalt blue. Another thing that I like to do, Eric, is I like to keep a paper towel in my hand. That way I can load up my brush, and if I feel like I have too much moisture, I can just touch that, take a little bit of the moisture out, and have a little bit more control. So one bit of advice I give students is when you are painting clouds, start big, because once you start chipping away at this nice, beautiful white cloud, before you know it, you might just have a little sliver of a cloud in your painting. So I always say start big and then slowly take things away. But this is one of the things I love here is this soft little transition between the blue and some of that lavender here, where the sky, where there's a soft cloud up against the sky. Beautiful technique when we can paint wet into wet and really pay attention to what's going on the paper. And this is a process of elimination here. We are negatively painting these clouds, which means we are painting around them rather than painting them directly onto the paper. So things are still pretty damp, and I can tell that because see how this blue is kind of drifting down into this cloud right here? I'm gonna, when that happens, if you want to preserve, you know, more of the white, you want a harder edge here, you can take a paper towel, you can push down and take off some of that moisture. Now we've kind of created a little bit of a handbrake for the moisture on the paper, so it's not just going to flow down and take over what we're working on here. We can start to bring a little bit of definition onto the edge of that cloud. All right, I'm going to keep working down the scene with the blue. I'm going to add just a little bit of more cerulean into the mixture. And we're slowly giving some form to these clouds. And as I look at what I've painted before, I can see, oh, there's a little bit of a lighter area here. Let me leave that. And then I have a little bit of suggestion of a light side, shadow side.
All right.
And I'll have a little bit of sky kind of poking around on that edge there.
Hello, Netherlands. British Columbia. If you guys have any questions, make sure to drop them in. We'll ask them. On Gouache Live this weekend on Saturday, I'll be doing, most of the demos will be live, and I'll be doing Q&A with them. So it's going to be a little different than normal. I like it.
So you paint gouache, you also paint oil, isn't that right?
I paint gouache, oil, watercolor,
Wow.
and pastel.
All right. Okay, so the cloud is starting to take shape. We aren't done with this cloud yet. What I'm going to do now is start to add a little more value on the underside of this cloud. What we don't want our cloud to be is just a cutout shape, like I was showing you on that early painting of mine. We don't want just a white shape with blue around it. We want this cloud to have form and feel like it's just drifting slowly across the scene here. So I'm going to use more of that lavender. And this time I'm going to put a little bit of neutral tint into the mixture.
All right. Would you explain to people what neutral tint is?
Yeah, neutral tint is it's a great thing to have on your palette, just to mix in with other colors to get a darker version of that color. So I don't really use it on its own. I'm always mixing it in with something else to create a stronger, richer, deeper, darker version of that color.
Yeah. It also neutralizes. So if you have something that's too chromatic, it'll knock it down a little bit.
That's right. Yeah. So you're not painting too saturated, which I prefer more of a natural palette with not a ton of saturation in it. So that's a good tool that I like to have. Okay. So this main cloud here, I'm going to focus there first. That's kind of the star of the painting here. And you can see I'm still getting a little bit of soft edge. Things are still damp, which is good. That's what I want. And I'm going to go even a bit darker here. More lavender, more
Now,
neutral.
do you ever worry about the warms and the cools in the sky in terms of the clouds?
Not so much in a scene like this, where it's kind of it was kind of a flat day, and I just have this kind of field of clouds. But if I'm, painting more of a sunset or something like that, that's when I really will pay a lot more attention to color temperature.
Yeah. I tend, if I want the cloud to get a little closer to me, I tend to put a little warmer shadow into it.
So that looks pretty stark right now, but we're going to add some other, values around the scene and balance this out. But this is, kind of the start of the show. So I want to be darker on this main cloud here.
Yeah. So Raju is asking, is the paper kept on a flat surface? I assume he means did it still stick?
Yeah, it's still sticking here. I have a little bit of a ripple here in the middle. And if that happens, what you can do is just kind of lift it up and lay back down.
Okay. Well, Arthur is asking, when I try to paint wetting the paper from the back, I don't get that dampness for so long. How do I make it better?
Yeah, there's a lot of factors in that. One of them is the humidity of where you're painting. During the summertime, or if I'm teaching in Arizona, man, that paper dries fast. If I'm teaching in Colorado, that paper dries really fast. So humidity and what the environment is like in your painting space also plays a role in that. And then it depends on the weight of the paper as well.
What weight are you using?
This is 140 pound.
Okay.
Yeah, a 300 pound is going to stay wet a really long time. So supplies make a difference, and how much water you're using makes a difference, and the environment you're painting in. So now I'm back into just suggesting, some of these other clouds. There's a little bit darker one here that has some more information. And I wanted to address this really quick. As things dry, you might remember I was pushing down with the paper towel here, drying this edge a little bit. If you're getting some hard edges here that you don't like, take a damp, clean brush and just soften things out.
But do it
Always
well
just,
before it dries.
that's right. Yeah. Once you have that hard edge, it's a lot harder to correct. That's for sure.
Yeah. Our guest today is Matthew White. We're learning about painting clouds and skies in watercolor, realistically. You guys have questions, drop them into the chat.
You know, back down here, like I've mentioned a few times, when there's a lot of clouds, I'm just suggesting making some marks. Again, I'm not trying to zoom in and really paint every little cloud as it appears in the reference photo. If I do that, this is all going to dry up, and I'm gonna lose this softness that I'm really after.
Yeah. So you changed brushes. You're using a smaller brush.
Yeah. So this is a size 18. It's not a natural hair brush. It's a synthetic, so it holds less water. I was using a mop brush earlier, and if I was to go in now and use a mop brush with a lot of water, it's just going to flood around and really create some blooms that I'm not interested in.
Yeah.
So the brush you're using and the timing, they kind of have to work together.
Okay.
Okay, this is looking pretty good up here so far. I'm going to go back to my paper towel. I'm going to look at some of these clouds. I have a little bit of light catching this one. I'm going to push down, see if I can make that even a little more apparent. It's almost like working with, you know, charcoal or pencil or something like that, and you have that kneaded eraser that you can get to a fine point and lift things out. This is a little similar to that. You can use this paper towel and just get back some subtle light information.
Okay. You said this is cold pressed paper, right? Or
That's
hot?
right. Yep.
Yeah.
Cold pressed paper. I also think a big part about painting something like this is stepping back from your paper often, stepping away from your easel and just looking and trying to see how it all looks, you know, as a whole, and not zoom in and get too obsessed with one little area. I don't know about you when you paint, Eric, but it's tempting to get right up on your work and get really zoomed in on an area and miss the big picture. We want to see the big picture as we're doing this here.
Literally the big picture.
That's
hey,
right.
Matthew, Mary Lynn is asking, can you neutralize with the color's complements?
Yeah, I mean, that's another way to do it too. It just kind of depends on the look you're going for and what you like. But yeah, you can do that as well.
Okay. All right. You guys have questions, you know what to do. Drop them in.
And I see a little bit of information over here.
Uh-oh, your camera went away.
Boy, we're just having tech issues today, huh?
Yeah, well, you know, these things happen. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll use this as a natural break for you
Sure.
to get that together and figure that out. Okay, you guys, just want to tell you about a couple of things that are going on. First off, I told some of you guys earlier what's going on, but just in case you missed it, we have this Saturday, we have Gouache Live, which is a worldwide broadcast, some of the world's leading gouache painters. And it's a full day on Saturday, starting at around, well, we have a pre-event conference starting an hour before. So starting around 11 Eastern. And so earlier in the West Coast, obviously, or wherever you are in the other parts of the world, it's going to go pretty much all day. And so we've got some great demos. You're going to be able to ask questions, interact, and it's going to be a terrific event. And it's Gouache Live. If you haven't signed up yet, do it, baby. Do it. 𝗥𝗲𝗹𝗶𝘁.com. And I mentioned earlier, Fall Color Week, we're down to, I'm thinking we probably have 10 or 12 seats left. And it's a lot of fun. Just go to fallcolorweek.com. Now, we're still waiting for Matthew's camera to come back. And, you know, these gremlins, sometimes they get to us. And so we have them. By the way, if you have not yet seen it, if you're a pastel junkie, like 𝗪𝗏𝗹𝗶𝗀 is, 𝗪𝗏𝗹𝗶𝗀 is on our team. She's now doing a thing called the Pastel Podcast, and Carrie and Lisa Skelly do it together. And wherever your podcasts are, look it up and check out the Pastel Podcast. Also, you're watching this program, and we've had over, 2,500 programs since COVID, and we have people teaching how to paint, and you're getting it all for free. But if you want in-depth instruction, high definition, you can watch on your big screen TV, long, in-depth lessons. Sometimes they go days, months, years. Well, maybe not quite that long. Just go to painttube.tv, and that has over 700 art instruction courses from the world's leading artists. And of course, you can watch on your app, on Roku, Apple TV, Fire Stick, Amazon Smart TV, etc. Of course, you can also get DVDs. We still produce those. Nobody else does, but we do, because a lot of people still want them. And so we would love for you to do that. We also have coming up Pastel Live, and Pastel Live is going to be coming up as well. And I think Matthew's coming back here in a second. Pastel Live will be in September. And that is September 17th through 19th. Okay, Matthew's back, and his paper is probably dry by now.
You would think so, but things are still a little damp up here, and that's good for me. I'm going to come back in here. I'm not quite done with emphasizing this main cloud, so I'm going to use a little bit more blue, and that's cobalt blue, cerulean blue.
All right. I just want you to know, this happened to me the other day. I was teaching and my camera kept going out. It was very frustrating.
It is frustrating.
But we won't judge you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
As a matter of fact, people in the comments are getting encouraging. They're giving you encouragement.
Oh, I really do appreciate that. Not fun when things don't work the way you want them to.
Yeah. Here's a question. How does working wet on wet with hot press paper differ from working with cold press paper?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't use hot press paper, but from what I know, it's a lot smoother of a surface. I like cold press to have more of that texture. So I'm assuming it's going to be a lot smoother. Now, and it'll depend on the weight of the paper on how long it's going to stay wet and things like that.
All right. So how damp is damp right now? You said
so. This is. I don't have a scale to tell you that, but it's still slightly damp. You'll see, I just put a mark of blue there. You see how soft those edges are?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's still very workable. And here's why I like doing this. I'm gonna take out a little moisture out of my brush again, especially in this part of the face. I really like to emphasize that main cloud. This is the time when you can come up here and you can really get that edge more defined with a little bit more information. You guys catching that there?
Yeah.
Good. All right. And you'll see I'm letting these clouds kind of overlap with each other. When you look at a cloud formation, you don't just have one cloud here, a separate cloud here. They're overlapping. They're flowing in front of each other. And I want the same thing here in my painting. So I'm letting things overlap. But this is my favorite part of this whole process. When you get to this stage, when you can add in more contrast and you can really get that thing focused, it's really fun.
So David was asking a question from earlier. When you were using paper towel, did you wet your paper towel?
No, I wanted it dry because I wanted to take out all the moisture that I could off of that. So it was a dry paper towel, and I was really pushing down pretty hard to get that to work.
Yeah. Well, when you put that sharp edge in, it made that cloud stand out even more.
Yeah.
Makes it a focal point.
Yes. Yeah. Like I said, that's my favorite part, is when you can bring that little bit of emphasis to it.
You have to have a lot of patience to paint clouds.
That's right. Yeah. But, that being said, watercolor is so immediate. So, we've been going here for 20 minutes or so. And this is a pretty elaborate sky, but it doesn't take a whole lot more to wrap this thing up. So this is just kind of the period of the painting where you're locking things in, you're bringing some focus. All the little bits of values. If you remember, we started off with, just really soft, nondescript marks on the paper, and now we're really bringing some focus to it.
So what if you wanted to light up those clouds? I know the idea is to leave the white, but let's say it was late afternoon and those clouds were turning color. What would you do?
Now, you mean these clouds here? Like, am I able to bring more light to them?
If you wanted to bring the yellow from the afternoon light or the pinks in the sky or whatever.
Yeah, that's a good question. So that is something I would do from the beginning. Watercolor is not terribly forgiving. And so I could maybe do a little light wash over some things once everything was really, really dry, but that would be a part of my focus, earlier on in the process.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I would probably be impatient and want to change my mind and say, okay, I'm just going to put it on top, and then I'd regret it, have to repaint the whole thing anyway.
Yeah. Well, that does happen too.
If you guys want to learn more about Matthew, we've put all of his information in the comments, so you can check out his website. Matthew lives in Kansas City. Are you in Missouri or Kansas?
I'm on the Kansas side.
All right.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Well, so there's Kansas City, Kansas, and then there's Kansas City, Missouri. The state line kind of divides the city. So if you watch the Chiefs play football, they're on the Missouri side for now. And then there's the Kansas side. So yeah, it's kind of a unique situation where the main city in our area is kind of split down the middle, but with a state line.
When we were kids, we used to go to Kansas City to get Coors beer because they sold it on the left side of the Mississippi, but they wouldn't sell it on the east side of the Mississippi.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So, I'm back to my paper towel here. Essentially, these clouds are done. I'm just seeing, is there any little highlight I want to pull out? Anything that's kind of still able to be manipulated a little bit, or does it need anything? So what I'm looking for, is there a dark area that's just looking kind of boring and can use a little more information? I have a little bit, I don't know if you can see, it's kind of hard to see, but I'm still able to lift a little bit off this here, even after all this time, 20 minutes or so that we've been doing this. So that is generally how I paint clouds, starting from with the very lightest values, working my way up to the darkest values, withholding. I think one of the trickiest parts about painting in watercolor in the way that I do is really kind of trusting the process. When we're painting, we really want something to look like something right away. So as we, start and things just look, very loose and vague and wet with no definition, trusting that you can work through that process to bring the information and the definition you need to your sky. How are we looking on time, Eric?
We're looking fine. We've got a little bit more time if you need a few minutes.
So here's what I'm going to do. I think to really help this stand out a little bit more, I'm going to add a little bit of ground underneath that. That helps give the sky a little more context. And it's fun because this is still a little bit of a damp edge, so we can get a nice soft horizon line down there. So I'm going to go ahead and take the blue off of my palette and get into some of the earth tones down here.
This is where the magic happens.
That's right.
One thing you can really tell looking at this cloud painting is that you can really get a sense of perspective because the bigger things are kind of closer to you.
Yeah, that's right. That's important. And just like, if you're painting waves, there's more information in the distance. It's actually the reverse of waves. As if this was the ocean, there'd be not as much information, more information, and then waves down here are more spread out and further apart. Same thing with clouds. more spread out and further apart. As we get to the horizon line, there's a lot more information and it's a lot more compact.
Huh. Well, we could do an ocean. We could paint an ocean in there right now.
Yeah, we could. We could. So
Right.
what I'm mixing,
Questions, guys? If you have questions, put them in the chat.
yeah, what I'm mixing up here, Eric, is just some raw sienna. I use a lot of raw sienna in my paintings, and when I teach workshops, that some people don't love raw sienna as much as I do. So it's kind of a funny thing. But I'm using raw sienna and cobalt turquoise. That's a nice combination to get kind of an olivey green. And I'm going to paint right here.
Ah.
Some distance.
Suddenly we have land.
This photograph that I took, you don't have the reference pulled up right now, but this is in the Flint Hills in Kansas. I don't know if you've ever spent much time in Kansas, but there's a part of Kansas that is so flat. Like you just drive out there and you can just see for miles and miles and miles. It's a beautiful area between Kansas City and Wichita, and it's called the Flint Hills. And I was driving through there and I took this photo and I just knew I needed to paint the sky. And I've done several paintings from this reference.
Reminds me of the Microsoft screensaver.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. So something interesting about painting the ground is that we want less saturation further away. And as we get closer, we want more saturation. Just that little subtle thing can help create a feeling of depth. So I'm putting a little bit of cadmium yellow into this mixture, and I'm just going to warm it up a little bit as we get kind of into the middle ground here.
So less saturated towards the back.
Yeah. More saturation in the middle and mainly in the middle ground and some in the foreground. And so as I'm painting down, I don't know if you can see that, but I kind of mixed a little bit of that up. Like I didn't just cover what I painted. I'm kind of mixing it in as I'm pulling it down. So it's not just a stark transition between less saturated and more saturated.
That's a good trick. You guys are learning a lot today. You got a good teacher. Matthew, you're really good at this.
Oh, thank you. Well, I do need to share a little story with you, Eric. Probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, maybe less than that. I was working a full-time job and I was just falling in love with painting, really hoping that there's any way that I could just do this, full time. And one of the things that really kept me inspired was your podcast.
Oh, thank you.
And I listened to so many interviews, Andy Evenson, Joseph 𝗣𝗶𝗶𝘁, Dean Mitchell, all of the artists that I just really, really look up to. And I listened to their interviews on your podcast, and it was really a great, incredible resource.
Thank you. It's called the Plein Air Podcast, everybody. Plein Air Podcast. We just did one. I don't know if it's up yet. We just did one about my trip to China and the plein air movement in China, which is pretty amazing.
Oh, that sounds incredible.
It was.
So I'm just kind of filling around here, putting a little more saturation down here. You get a little bit of feeling of depth when we really warm this up as we get to the bottom. You can't really see the bottom. I'm going to pull that up just a little bit more.
There we go.
And when you get a little bit of context, that sky looks a lot better. Clouds up here, ground down here.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to do now, in the reference, you can see some really cool shadows off in the distance. That was something interesting about this reference is that, the sun was coming in this way and it was casting these beautiful shadows along the ground. So I'm just going to throw some of those in now while things are still damp and see what that looks like.
Okay.
Using some cobalt blue some cerulean, and I'll use a little bit of neutral tint, kind of take some of the saturation off of that.
So if that's wet, will you get blooms if you lay those in, or do you want them to get kind of?
Yeah, that's a great question. Again, I'm using this synthetic brush that doesn't hold as much water as a mop brush. And that's a good way to give you a little bit more control when you're trying to work, wet into wet when you've already laid down a wash. That's a good thing to keep in mind. And we're always paying attention to moisture on the brush, like I was talking about up here. If you feel like there's too much, it's better to start with less than more, right? Because if you create a bloom here, there's no undo button, unfortunately.
Right, no Control Z.
Yeah.
Very subtle. This is one thing you're really good at, is keeping things very subtle.
Mm.
Guys got questions, make sure you jump in with them. We're going to wrap up here in another 5 minutes or so. And the same thing applies. Your shadows are going to be lighter and less saturated.
Yes.
In the back.
Mm-hmm.
How many years ago did Mary Lynn is asking, how many years ago did you decide to quit your job and go professional?
Yeah, I'm in my 4th year now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What was that like?
Oh, thrill of a lifetime, honestly. We were talking before we jumped on. I have a family. I have 2 kids and a wife, and things don't get easier as you grow deeper roots and you're in a career. So yeah, it was a bit of a leap of faith, and it's been fantastic. I've had great opportunities to teach in other places in the world, and man, I'm just really, really grateful that I get to do this.
Congratulations. Takes a lot of guts to do that.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm just adding some kind of dappled, shadows here into this scene.
It makes it really, really come alive when you did that.
There was you can see in the reference, there was a little pond, and there was a bunch of cows gathered around the pond there. So I had a little bit of interest. I didn't add that in here, but that was a nice little touch to have a little sign of life in the painting there.
Yeah. Cows are just basically boxes on legs.
There you go. Cows are tricky. I don't know. Painting them close up, man, it's tough. I prefer cows when they're really far away and they can just be little dots.
Yeah, well, everything's easier when it's further away.
Yeah.
Do you work only in watercolor, primarily in watercolor?
I do. Yeah. Yeah. And part of that is, I put so much time into learning this medium that I feel like I'm just getting started, and there's so much to learn still that,
well, that's a lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I might dabble with some gouache down the road.
Well, if you watch gouache live, you will be instantly addicted.
Yeah. Yeah.
I took gouache with me to China because I took watercolor and gouache. I didn't want to carry oils because they're heavy.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to have to deal with wet paintings to bring them home. So
yeah, that makes sense.
So I painted watercolor and gouache. I ended up getting one of my gouache paintings got put into a permanent collection of a museum in China.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
And several of my watercolor paintings ended up in an exhibition. So that was fun.
Huh. Man, that must have been. Had you been to China before?
No, first time.
That's amazing.
Diane in the chat says, I wish I could come to gouache. Listen, guys, there are replays available. If you can't make it live, make sure to come dead. In other words, you can watch replays.
I had the opportunity to go to Korea and Japan in February, and that was a great experience. I really enjoyed that.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I went to Japan about a year ago. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I went to watch gouache being made at the Holbein factory.
Oh,
I
wow.
met with the president of Holbein. I met with the president of Turner, both big gouache companies. And interestingly enough, they're both in the same city.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I think one broke
huh.
off from the other 100 years ago.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a question about making clouds bottoms flat. I'm trying to see if I can find it.
Yeah, I get that. You know, in the reference that it is kind of flattened out. You know, that's just kind of a matter of preference, or you know, and sometimes I'll flatten it out, sometimes I'll curve it around. Just depends on how things turn out most of the time. But yeah, you know, observe, see what the clouds are doing, and go from there.
But if you wanted to add a darker value, he's asking, then you could still do it at this point if you wanted to do that?
Well, I probably wouldn't.
Okay.
And again, that's part of paying attention to what's going on in the paper. I could, but I would have some hard edges that I would need to really go in and carefully soft to help it blend in with things. So generally when I paint a sky, I'd say 90% of the time I'm painting that sky, and when the paper's completely dry, I'm not touching it anymore.
Okay, good idea. Well, Matthew, this has been fabulous. If you can come back on camera, that would be really terrific so people can see your smiling face. There you are. Now you got to be smiling.
That's right.
Well, thank you for doing this today. Everybody give
Yeah.
Matthew thumbs up and applause. And we loved this. We learned a lot. I learned a lot. I learned about a couple of things that I didn't ever know, and I've been doing watercolor for a long time. And so thank you for doing that.
Thank you for having me, Eric. I had a great time. Again, sorry for those little hiccups at the beginning, but I'm really glad I got back in here and I was able to do this.
We made it work. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Matthew, thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Have a good one.
I should mention, by the way, that we have an event coming up called Watercolor Live. If you love watercolor, it's coming in January. It's the world's largest watercolor conference, and it is massive, and it's online. And so people all over the world, instructors all over the world. So please join us for that, watercolorlive.com. And thank you again for tuning in. We have a free gift for you today. Let's do, because of gouache. Oh, we have this free gift. Okay, we'll do Watercolor Mastery. It's an ebook. You just go to AmericanWatercolor.net. That's our newsletter for watercolor. AmericanWatercolor.net/ebook. And a reminder that Gouache Live is coming up on Saturday. You don't want to miss that. And so go to gouachelive.com. And we have a free ebook on gouache now too. Let's pull that up and give you a chance to see that free ebook on gouache. Maybe we don't have it. So if anyway, just come to Gouache Live. That would be really terrific. And we would love to have you there. Thank you for tuning in today. If you haven't subscribed to this program, let's get it done, baby. Go to YouTube, look up Art School Live, hit the subscribe button. There's also a little bell to remind you when we go live. Thanks again. Have a great day. Thank you, Matthew. Bye-bye, everybody.